Hi guys, this is Hiro, and today I'm going to be discussing the topic of depression from a spiritual perspective. So the one thing we need to acknowledge about depression, the major key tip is that being depressed or sad is okay. So what do I mean by this? So we've kind of been taught in society and some other, and by people and stuff, that you should always kind of be happy, and that is very unrealistic. As you guys may be able to tell, it's raining right now, and it's about to be nighttime. So there's always rain and sunshine. There's always night and day. Just like there's always periods of sadness or depression in your life, and then there's always going to be periods of happiness or joy. So just because you're feeling depression or sadness does not mean that something is wrong with you. Everyone goes through periods of depression and sadness. You basically just want to accept them. And if you don't accept them, what's going to happen is you're going to basically be depressed about being depressed. Just like how you can kind of have anxiety about having future anxiety. So this can kind of turn into a very quick downward spiral. So you want to just be okay with the feeling of depression and acknowledge that feelings of sadness is completely natural. Now, the other thing you're going to want to do is allow yourself to feel joy/positive emotions. So some people, they hold in feelings of joy. They don't allow themselves to be happy for whatever subconscious limiting belief or reason. And because of that, they're never able to escape this ongoing depression that they face. So you want to also allow yourself to feel joy and positive emotions. Don't deny yourself this. You may be taught in society that, hey, look, if you don't look like this, or if you don't have this in your life, that you shouldn't be happy. That is, you basically want to throw any of that kind of nonsense out the window. And happiness is a state of mind. It's never dependent on anything external. Happiness is always internal. So you develop an internal state of consciousness, regardless of being happy, regardless of anything that happens on the external. You can be happy. Now, happiness and joy are not the same thing. So you might be wondering, well, if you're always happy, why are you going to be depressed? Well, happiness is the state of mind. Joy is the emotion, that emotion of ecstasy that may get confused with happiness, but they are not the same thing. So happiness is a state of mind that's saying, hey, whatever I'm feeling, whatever's going on in my life is okay. And joy is that kind of ecstasy feeling that you get. So joy is the emotion. Happiness is going to be the state of mind. Just like sadness is the emotion here, and depression is kind of the state of mind to an extent. It depends on how you kind of identify these terms, but I think you guys get the point of what I'm trying to say. Now, yin-yang balance, basically, you want to accept extremes while trying to maintain balance. So between joy and sadness, you want to accept both extremes, but you ideally want to live your life somewhere in the middle. You don't ideally want to be fluctuating back and forth. You want to accept however joyful you might get or however sad you might get, but you ideally want to kind of stay in the middle and balance accordingly. Then you want to unprogram the mind or ego about any conceptions about about sadness, lethargy, or depression. So what I mean by this is you basically want to, I'm going to tie this back into what I was saying at the beginning. If you're feeling depressed or sad or lethargy, the worst thing you want to do is to put judgment on that. Because when you put judgment on that, like I said, you start becoming depressed about your sadness or about your depression. So this is kind of going to go through a downward spiral. And I'm going to make a future video on how to maintain a like I said, happiness is a state of mind. I'm going to make a video on how to maintain that state of mind of happiness. And I'm going to make a video on the difference between joy and happiness later on down the line. But I'm kind of just covering the basics to start off. So this is that. And I'm going to give you 3 things to stop and 3 things to start to focus on your depression. So things to stop, obviously social media, because social media, you're kind of ingraining in your mind further and further that, hey, I should be joyful, I should be happy more, blah, blah, blah. And that's kind of going to make you depressed about feeling sad. The other thing we're going to be doing, I'm going to tie overthinking here with this. Basically, whenever your mind tries to run off on a tangent and be like, hey, you don't have this or you don't have that, rather than arguing with your mind, because the problem is creating at a mental level. So rather than keeping arguing with it, because your ego can go back and forth with you your whole life or all day. You want to just accept that. You do not want to argue with your ego. It's most likely never going to end well, and it's always going to win. And even if you win, it's very temporary. Your ego is just going to find something else to bother you. And judging, like I said in the last video, when you judge others, you judge yourself. So if you judge someone else for having problems, you're going to judge yourself every time you have problems. And even if you don't have any problems in your life, which is not true, but let's just say you have a limited amount of problems in your life, you're constantly going to be in a state of anxiety on what if I start having these problems in my life. So you want to stop judging. Things to start, I'm going to get to this one last. So one thing you're going to want to do is staying present. Exercise is kind of tying into staying present. So when you stop overthinking, you're going to notice that when you stop listening to your mind, or you start accepting the thoughts in your mind, you're going to notice that you're more in the present. So when you're more in the present, and I'm going to also probably have to make a video about how to stay present or dealing with staying present. A lot of people confuse staying present with anxiety, actually. They're like, oh my God, whenever they do stay present, they don't know how to handle it, which causes anxiety. So I'm gonna probably have to make another video on how to stay present. But when you stay present, you're gonna wanna find more fruitful actions to do, like exercise or meditate or yoga or stuff like this, to basically kind of gear you away from overthinking. Now, you should not use exercise and stuff as a crutch because you're not able to deal with your mind. You wanna accept what your mind throws at you, but obviously everyone can't meditate all day. So you're gonna wanna, whenever you live your day-to-day life, you're gonna wanna stay present, and you're gonna wanna, even if you don't exercise or gym's not your thing, you're gonna wanna find more fruitful activities to substitute your daily life in. Now, this last one, interdependence, you're probably wondering what that means. So we live in a society where they try to steer us away from dependence and become as independent as possible. Now, just like yin-yang, both extremes, you want to find an interbalance. You want to kind of guide yourself towards maintaining balance. So you don't want to be completely dependent on people, but you also don't want to be all independent all the time and make everything about yourself. You want to kind of find that balance of interdependence. So find family and friends that are very that kind of guide you on the path of self-improvement, or that you have a genuinely good time with, that are not super toxic. And that way you kind of have company to share with in your life, and you can hopefully rely on these people. Now, like I said, you're not becoming completely dependent on them for your happiness, but you're also not becoming super independent where your ego takes over and everything kind of becomes about yourself, which I kind of noticed that's what's happening these days. So that's my video on depression, just to start off. I'm obviously going to have to make a whole bunch of other videos to dive deeper into some of these topics, but I hope you enjoyed this. And as always, if you have any questions, just feel free to let me know. And until next time, bye-bye. Thank you.